Hey, GAWSY readers. My name is Anaya, and I'm GAWSY's editorial consultant, and we're joined here with.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brielle Gines, and I'm the CEO of GAWSY Magazine.
So, we had some technical difficulties with the actual recording of our faces, so I guess the next couple episodes will just be the audio only. So, bear with us as we try to transition to this new element and try to get, you know, you guys seeing our faces back. But without further ado, so for this episode, we're going to be talking about what self love is versus what it is not. And Bria, if you don't have anything else to add, if you would like to start us off.
Absolutely. So, just as Anaya said, we're talking about self love, what it is versus what it isn't. So, I have a list, and starting with our isn't list, going down. So, our first one is self love isn't the need to go and buy things to fill for a lack thereof. Self love isn't denial. Self love isn't repression. Self love isn't people pleasing. Self love is not a vanity gesture. Self love is not self deprecating. Self love is not unforgiveness of self. Self love is not settling. Self love is not overgiving or overcommitting to friends, family, or your occupation. And self love is not built on a non firm foundation. And for what self love is accepting and loving your flaws. It is seeing yourself in a new light. Self love is patient and a journey, it's not an achievement or a destination. Self love is forgiveness of self and of mistakes. Self love is acknowledgement of your identity. Self love is speaking life and affirming yourself every day. So, using daily affirmations and just speaking well and confidently of yourself. Self love is wanting to be the best future you by present you doing the work now.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brielle.
You're
Um,
welcome.
but yeah, just self love is what you make for yourself. Everybody's self love, self care is different. You don't have to do exactly what the next person is doing. It's just basically what will cater to you and your needs in that moment. And of course, it'll always change in the future. It's not going to be the same as it was in the past. So just be mindful of that.
Yes, absolutely. I really want to emphasize because I was reading on a website called medium.com, and they were saying and really emphasizing on the fact that self love is not an achievement or a destination. And I want to go back to that point because I think in a lot of ways, self love can be reflected as trying to get to this place where you're good. And that's kind of like the final say so. But life is going to continuously be up in the air with what it decides to give to you or the cards that you were dealt with. And sometimes what I've like been in a challenge with my self love journey is the past and having to move forward from that and not have a foothold in it because the more that you do, the more your past starts to become overflowed into your present, which isn't a good thing because like your present is now. The moment that you have is right now. So keep in mind, as you go through your self love journey, that it is a journey and that it's not kind of this idea that you get to this point and that's it. Like it's going to be
Hmm.
continuous. There will be peaks, but there will also be valleys as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind as you go through your self love journey.
Exactly. I just want to add to that, like as Brio said, like we're gonna constantly change. Like you're not gonna be the same person you were today that you are gonna be tomorrow. Like you're gonna have
Hmm.
different moods. You're gonna have a different mindset. You're gonna have a different goal for that day. So just don't try to be like in a stagnant position. Just remember to constantly evolve yourself and be a better person the day after day. Um, catering to yourself and your needs. So yeah.
Yes, and I exactly like we just grow and we expand and most importantly we evolve. So yeah, just keep that in mind and know that also let this be a reminder that you're doing good. If nobody's told you today, you're doing good and you're staying on the track that you need to be on. So keep it up. Gauzy listeners, keep it up.
Exactly. You're gonna be changing to the day you reach 80 years old. Like I promise you, you're not. Like everything will be okay. It's not the end
Literally.
of the world if like something bad happened to you that day. It's not the end of the world. You got to acknowledge it, move on from it, see how you can grow from that situation, whether it was negative or positive, and see how it could benefit you in any possible way. But if it doesn't, then take the key and throw it out the door because it doesn't matter anymore. Like after it happens, it's done. You gotta have mind over matter mindset and just keep moving on throughout the day. Keep pushing to whatever goal you're trying to achieve.
Yes. Like just keep going. And for like people that like if you ever like struggle with like knowing how to move forward, or if you ever feel that you're in your past like too much or kind of overthinking, because I know I struggle with that a lot. It's nice to be reminded that sometimes like you're not in that place anymore. That like that helps me to kind of move forward within my journey, because like your past is your past. It's there for a reason. And in some places, like it's good to reflect on it, but you don't want to wallow in it too long. And I've been in that position before. So if you ever feel as if like you're kind of stuck or you don't know where to continue to go, kind of like just take a minute to like stand in the truth of where you are now and how it's different from who you were or what you've gone through. And also look forward and hope um, for more that is to come. Because, I don't know, like we were like emphasizing, life just, it changes. You're going to change. So, yeah.
Hmm. Exactly. Well, I'll move on to like our first question. So I'm gonna just combine these two because they're kind of like in the same wavelength. But what does self love mean to you, and then what does self care mean to you?
What is self love to me? It's a, how do I like set this up? Because like I see it in my mind.
Hmm.
Okay. I think self love to me is an acknowledgement. Um, it's a full body acknowledgement of what I've gone through and where I'm at. It's this choice that I've actively made to change and to evolve into somebody presently now and in the future that I would like to be and to have grown from. I think in a lot of ways before I would get into very self-deprecative methods of thinking to where I was like, okay, this is just who I am. So this is obviously who I have to be. And that's not true at all that I have learned through my self-love journey. In fact, I would argue to like to say that you can continuously reinvent yourself every year, every 5 years, every 10 years. And so, what self love to me is this full body acknowledgement of who I am and who I have been, and knowing that I can change and evolve and it be a good thing and not this like, okay, I have to change because so and so said to do this, or social media post for the day said to do that. But it's no, it's this acknowledgement. It's this alignment um with who I choose and desire to be. One
Hmm.
quote that I've heard, I was listening to a podcast called Therapy for Black Girls, and one of the guests on the episode said that you can't change yourself through judgment. Like you can't do that. Like that's only going to get you as far as where your judgment is. But on the adverse side, if you change yourself through love and through a genuine desire to change, then you can absolutely be who you desire to be. And so keeping that in mind too, I don't want to change myself through judgment anymore. I want to change myself because I desire to be someone different than who I
Hmm.
was, than a former or past version of myself was. And for self care, oh, self care has been really, really big for me within like the past year, year and a half. But for self care for me, um, one thing that I do a lot now is self reflect, especially in the mind. I start there with asking myself questions like how I am, how am I doing, for more like tangible kind of self care things. I really enjoy taking care of my skin, so kind of investing in like some skincare products and stuff like that. One recent thing that I did this past year, this past semester, was dye my hair blonde, which was super fun. It was very different to see myself with lighter hair, but it was so fun because
Hmm.
like I just felt I had like a nice glow to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just fun. So yeah, like that's what self love to me means, and that is what self care to me means.
Mm. I love that. I want to dye my hair so bad because I have that dark skin, and we were talking about this earlier when we went to Johnny's Tavern,
Hmm.
and me, Brielle, and I and Gabby met up, and we just like conversed. And I want to dye my hair like a bright color, but temporary dye because I cannot be walking around here with pink hair on campus every day. But I really like. I literally before I go back to campus, I want to like get like pink or blonde or something and put some
Yes.
temporary dye in my hair. Like probably not my whole head, but like maybe like just the ends or something like that. But
Hmm.
I want to do that so bad because I feel like I would just look so good with it. But yes, like that just reminded me of that. And then something else that reminded me, with what you said, you were talking about judgment, and I was like, I don't know why, but that word immediately made me go back to high school and how I had so much like anxiety. I don't even know if it was social anxiety, but just anxiety
Hmm.
and just like, walking in the cafeteria, you're like, are people watching me? If people think like my outfit's ugly or people think I'm ugly,
Yeah.
like that
Hmm.
type of anxiety. Like, I don't know why that just, but then as I got older, I realized that that judgment wasn't coming from other people, it's coming from myself internally. Because high schoolers are not looking at you walking across the cafeteria carrying your food. Like, nobody cares. And I just had like this, I don't know, this internalized judgment that people were like making fun of me or whatever the case may be. And I guess that kind of stemmed from other things like just bullying and just like lack of self confidence and things like that. So that just kind of made me think of that and like how a lot of high schoolers struggle with that. But in reality, it's like nobody's really like thinking about that. I mean, like it's not that big of a deal. So that just made me think about that.
Yes,
So.
man, I get that. Us as humans, we spend a lot of time, and I'm guilty of this. Like every day that I'm now having to unlearn, but we are in our heads a lot, like a
Mhm.
lot, and it's something that like it takes time to unlearn. And I think some like one of the best ways to kind of manage it is to, I guess, be present or be out of your mind, I guess, for like a moment or like a piece of time. And you kind of
Mhm.
like it allows you to be grounded in a way.
Right. Um. Yeah, that makes so much sense. But self love to me just based for me it's more different than what you said. Is more of like embracing my natural appearance, evolving daily in skincare, hair, clothes, interactions, and then like telling myself every day how like lucky I am to be me and uniquely me and not like feeling ashamed in the skin I'm in or how I look or my personality, but improving, I guess, like quote unquote, any imperfections like as consistently as I can when I notice them when I'm like not like on my A game, if that makes sense. But
Hmm.
and just acknowledging those insecurities and like being willing to change them so that I don't get in my head so much. And like immediately once I acknowledge the insecurity, I like try to seek out to like instill more confidence in myself about whatever insecurity that is and tell myself like I honestly like look in the mirror. I told myself like, why are you be what like there's no reason to be insecure about that. Like stop. I be talking to myself in the mirror because it just helps me like come
That's
back
real.
to the present moment and like just be like calm down. It's okay. Like nobody's even thinking about that as hard as you're thinking about it right now. So that's just something that's helped me in my self love journey. And then also with what self care means to me. Um, like you said, I've been really into like my skin, and so I use vitamin E oil literally every day. It helps my skin glow. My acne has gotten so much better since high school, and high school was very like that, puberty, cystic acne, but it's gotten way better. Um, so just nurturing myself and touching into like my feminine energy. I love to journal, so I like write down like my thoughts every day. And then you already know I love to play some Sims. Like Sims
The
is where
Sims.
it's at. They coming out with a new expansion pack and they got horses. Yeah, I'm buying that. I am
Oh
buying
my
that.
gosh.
I don't care. I'm buying. I've been wanting horses since the Sims 3. The Sims 3, I literally had like half of the expansion packs. Oh my gosh, like I need the Sims to catch back up. Okay, Sims 4 is lagging in a lot of the areas that Sims 3 was just perfecting at. But it's okay. It's okay. And then also just loving my body, exercising, eating healthily, playing soccer, learning different languages, and just trying to have try to balance my self-care by also socializing, because social hour is very important for me when I need it. So me and my friends are gonna hang out tomorrow, so that's gonna be kind of part of my socialization. So yeah, just some things I do.
Yes, and I love those. Going back to your self love point, like you were saying, like you're like looking in the mirror and you're like doing that reflection of like nobody's like looking or like pay attention to this. So like just like snap out of it. Like I like have done that too. Like nobody's like I like tell myself that too. I'm like nobody's like looking like that deep. Like it goes back to like I just be like being like in your head. Like
Hmm.
people just be doing like them because they're probably in their
Right.
head too.
Exactly.
So it's like I get that. I understand that all too well.
Hmm. 9 times out of 10, people are saying the same things you're telling yourself, and
Mm.
it feels like people are judging you because you're so in tune with what they're thinking and not what you're thinking. You're just think like, that makes sense. Like you're thinking about what they're thinking of you without, and you're not thinking about what you think of yourself, especially in the present moment. It's like, I don't know. It's very crazy how that works. But
I agree. It is.
all right. So the next question, we kind of already answered, like, how do you show yourself self love and what does it look like for you? Um, but since we're both in college, have your self love or self care activities increased or decreased since going to college?
Ooh, that's a good question. Since starting college, I feel like my self love and self care activities have definitely increased. On campus, I'd like to brag about TWU, Texas Women's University, for a minute. They do a really great job at hosting events and more so like self love and like self care events. So going like to those are fun because they're a nice way because they our RHA likes to emphasize on kind of just taking a break from schoolwork because they understand because the students that serve on RHA are students as well too, so they definitely understand what it means to be overwhelmed with Canvas notifications, the 11:59 reminder, as most college
Mm-hmm.
students know. Like it just gets exacerbating sometimes.
Right.
And going to those events definitely help to kind of take some of the weight off and pressure off of doing homework for that allotted amount of time. And it's just nice to do so. Bragging about TW again, our campus, I was talking to my nan about this today actually. On campus, there are a lot of spots where you can kind of just chill and relax at, whether it's by the pond, near the towers, or the fountain right in front of the library, or just like the nice open green space that surrounds campus. There's a lot of places where you can just naturally unwind and take a load off while being in school. I'm a junior, about to go into my senior year, so like the courses are becoming way more trivial and inquisitive. So um, right now I'm taking summer courses as well too. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all, I've been procrastinating on homework. But um, but yeah, so like even like now while I'm taking summer courses, I'm trying to like mix in like self care by just stepping away from the laptop when it's time to step away, or
Mm-hmm.
playing The Sims. But yeah, being
Mm-hmm.
in
Yep.
college, but yeah, being in college, like our campus does a great job at providing um, students events to kind of just unwind, and it's nice to be able to go and just step away from the laptop for a little
Hmm.
bit.
Yeah, my college does that as well. I go to Nebraska Wesleyan. It's in Lincoln, Nebraska. They do like self care kits. I even did my own personal self care kit for my own organization, and people love them. So
Ooh,
I got a lot of this stuff from the Dollar Tree. But I'm like, listen, first of all, it's expensive out here, and secondly, they still look cute. I mean, like there was
period.
a bunch of stuff in the back. So. But yeah, we also have a yoga club on campus by, and our my
Ooh.
one of my professors, Carla Jensen, runs the club. So they do yoga club events like twice every month, and they're lovely. She does yoga outside. She does like a midterm yoga, like lovely. She even goes to like a yoga house, and they do like something in there. I haven't been to one because it costs money and I'm broke, but that's besides the point. But I do want to go one, hopefully this year. I'll be able to. But yeah, my college, when I got to university, that's kind of when I touched in more with the self love and self care, because I was away from home, and I don't know, like being around people all day. I'm like, no, I need to like take time for myself. And
Mm-hmm.
my freshman year, I had a roommate. Sophomore year, I had three roommates, and then for my junior year, I'm gonna be by myself. So like, I'm extremely happy.
Mm-hmm.
Loved living with my sophomore year roommates, and so like whenever I wasn't in class or anything, I would just take time myself to journal, or between classes, I would bring my journal or like my drawing book with me. I would just draw in between my classes, just to kind of like relieve any stress or whatever. And I would also try to do my homework like several days ahead, so I could have time to myself, and that worked out really like perfectly. Especially during soccer season, like I have no time to do homework. I have games every weekend. I got practice every night. It's like when I come back to my dorm, I just want to go to sleep. Like I don't want to do any homework. So
Mm-hmm.
it was very important for me to just do my work like before class started, 2 days before that class. Like it just worked wonders for me. So it's definitely increased. Um, Hopefully junior year I can go to some more yoga club events. I'm trying to think we have anything else. I don't really think we do, but Lincoln has really like beautiful parks. So I started going to the park, and I literally just sat there and just listened literally to nature, and like I had my music in and stuff like that. So that was really nice just to get outside. So
That is bliss. I love that. That's cool that you guys have a yoga club too. Like that's
hmm
cool. Like
yeah.
really, really cool.
All right. So kind of going backwards, were you taught about self love or self care during your childhood?
During my childhood, self love and self care, no, I was not. Self love and self care was introduced to me probably my junior year of high school. Yeah, that's when it was introduced. I had not known about it like from a young age. I think
Hmm.
during that time, which I feel like it would have been so useful now in hindsight to have learned about those things. But I feel like in a lot of ways it's still kind of not necessarily being introduced, but it's still kind of a new kind of term in the sense of like it being practiced and people like understanding and knowing what self love truly is. But I think within today society where I didn't necessarily see self love and self care during my childhood, I think now we more so have an opportunity to introduce it to younger generations and push and emphasize it more, especially with high school students and preteens and very adolescent ages. Because
Hmm.
during like that, just the growing up years of like your life, you're faced with um, a lot of like self perception, and not all of it is positive. So, especially as your body changes and your face changes, like everything about you is changing at this time. So, I think now we can kind of start to approach it more as approach the topics of self love and self care more as a society to younger generations, so they can know it too. But when I was younger, no, self love and self care was very foreign. I did not know about it at all.
Right. I didn't learn about it either until junior year when you asked me to be part of the magazine. I was like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yes,
But
like
yeah, I didn't. I didn't know. And then kind of like when you introduced me to the magazine and self love, it's kind of when my parents started getting into it too. And I felt
hmm
like during that time, like COVID was like the rise of self love and self care. Like I don't know, it just
yes.
felt so fast. I'm like, what in the heck is going on? How at the same time everybody else is figured out and discovering what this is? It was insane to me. But like just growing up in a black household, discussing mental health was just not even priority. Like my mom would just be like, "Go depress them dishes." If I ever said I was depressed, like she'd ever always be like, "What are you depressed for?" Like calling you know me and my siblings privilege and stuff like that, which is very damaging because it's like just because we grew up in a good neighborhood and had a roof over our head and clothes on our backs and stuff doesn't mean that you can't not be depressed, because like depression
hmm
affects everybody. It's not only subjected to a certain socioeconomic class. So that,
Yeah.
yeah, just hearing that just it was just like I felt like I could never go to like my mom for like any like mental support. I just never even tried. So yeah, especially just growing up in childhood, it's just like that emotional trauma is just like, and then people get older and then they start trauma dumping on people because they never had an emotional support from their parents, especially their
Mm-hmm.
black parents, and so they trauma dump on people. And I mean, they make good friendships out of it, but it's like you shouldn't have to do that when you hit like 20, 21, like. And that's why you see a lot of young adults wanting therapists because they came from households that where they didn't have emotional support or mental support, especially in black households, which is unfortunate. But I think with this new generation, we are getting better with that and discussing that with our kids. Like I've seen that a lot on social media. I know not every like household is like that. It just depends on like where you live, because like in more like rural communities or low income communities, they don't really have those resources for that mental health support. They probably still don't even know what self love and self care is. So I really hope they get like those resources and like are able to like discover this, I guess, like new world, um, and really touch in with themselves internally.
I agree. That's very true within like the black community. It's very still in a lot of ways taboo to approach topics such as mental health, and it's very unfortunate because as you're saying, like as you're growing up, all of this experience and trauma has had no place to go, or it's not been exemplified or acknowledged, and so for people who have even not even still had that outlet. There's it's still being carried. Like it's never like like I like what how am I trying to say this? Like it's still there. And it's either like
Hmm.
gonna be there or it's either gonna become repressed to where like I've not talked about this, so like it's just going to go nowhere and that's not healthy because it's just trauma being stored away
Right.
and it's still being harnessed in there. And I hope that we can come to a point where the black community can healthily relay their emotions and have that emotional support um, that a lot of African Americans need. It's very vital, and for anyone in every race as well too. Like, yeah, that's a good point about like trauma dumping. Like people like that have trauma dumped, like they need like a place to healthily relay their emotions
Hmm.
and get this out. And yeah, I just and going back to the point of younger generations, I've been seeing a lot lately about Dove, the soap company,
Yeah.
has released their self-esteem project, I think. And in some of the ads, it's young women who are one of the commercials or ads that I saw um, the brunt of it was talking about toxic beauty culture and how young women are ascribing to many of these influencers who are not necessarily portraying or using their platform as a way that is positive, but in
Hmm.
turn negatively impacting the image of these young women. And it's just, it's sad at how early it's starting to formulate in their minds to want to change when our brains aren't even fully developed until we're 25. So we're still being shaped and molded in so many different ways. But that stuff, those toxic aspects of social media are already becoming ingrained from an early age. And so I think today, like on social media, it's important to kind of pay attention, especially to people who have very big platforms. Um, yeah, just be a little bit more sensitive, I guess, to what you're posting because people are always watching. I know sometimes, um, like people aren't like, but yeah, sometimes people are watching, in ways and studying and monitoring. So it's important to kind of be sensitive. I think our world isn't as sensitive, I feel like, as they could be when it comes to kind of topics like that about self love and self esteem and self image. And I think, um, especially for younger generations, because they're like just breathing this information in. So, yeah.
Exactly. I just want to go back quickly to what I said. But yeah, like as you said earlier, like that cycle and in that generational cycle of like of Black communities not having those resources. Because my mom did not have any resources about self love or self care, which makes sense as to why I didn't have any either. But I love my
Mm-hmm.
mom to death, and now like she knows all about it. Like she be buying her stuff, jewelry, and all. I'm like, girl, you done took self love to a whole nother level. But hey, whatever works for you works for me. If you're happy, I'm happy. So I'm glad she's doing her thing. But yeah, with the social media, like I don't think a lot of social media influencers realize that digital footprint is real and it will follow you for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of your life. Like they're gonna be
Yes.
like 70 years old with kids, and then their kids are gonna go on social media and look at what they were posting when they were that young. And it's like what positivity were you spreading? Like what is this? Like I feel like a lot of their I feel like their kids when they grow up are gonna be like disappointed or embarrassed with their parents because they're gonna go to school and get like trashed because like their friends' parents probably were not social media influencers. They probably just work, like a normal, not a normal, but like a 9 to 5 job or whatever. And I feel like they're gonna get like dogs in school. I don't know. It's definitely gonna happen. There's no way it's not gonna happen. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Social media influencers, they need to be just aware online. Like you can't post everything. Make sure I would always like to them. I would always suggest that they ask a friend or two, like, does this give off the message that I'm trying to portray on my social media page? Because it's not going to be this that like that message you're trying to portray isn't going to like be received the same by each person. um I mean, it's not going to do that, especially you're posting on mass to a whole different bunch of people. But I mean, just make sure like the intention that you want is there before you post it, because some people can interpret it a different way. So yeah, I learned that.
I
Um,
agree. I
in one
agree.
of my classes, it was like, just make sure the message that you want to portray is like genuine and sincere and honest. And yeah, so learn that in health communication.
Yes, that is real. Yes, I agree.
Okay, so let's see. So I think we have time for one more question. So that's what we're gonna talk about: self love and friendship. So like, I guess we could do families too. Self love and friendships and families. How do you set boundaries? Do you cater more? Do you have like a small friend group or a big friend group? And then how do you know when you like have like a quote unquote new friend? I guess we could say it that way.
Ooh, those are all good questions. The first question, and what was the first question?
So basically, just like self love and friendship and, and families, how do you set boundaries between those two groups? Like, is it the same or is it different? You have different approaches.
How do I set boundaries with friends and family? That's a good question. Starting with family, um, I'll give like a very recent example. So last summer, I had to have um just a conversation with my dad and kind of just his role and his impact within my life. And I think during that time, I was like in a headspace of I wanted like immediate change,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to realize that that's not fair. Like you can't just want immediate change because you haven't seen it within like growing up to now. And now in hindsight, a year later, I've learned to not um, succumb to like that level of me wanting that immediate change. I've become way more lax in how, if I like in accepting certain things or behaviors, and um, it's been nice not having to force anything or expect anything either. One thing that I've been learning too, especially as it pertains to family, is our inner child and what we didn't get or what we didn't receive um, as a child. We have to be careful sometimes. That's what I tell myself too. I have to be careful that my inner child is not taking the steering wheel for present me now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't allow my inner child to get their expectations up because it's only led to disappointment. And that's what the inner child doesn't understand sometimes. So I think for me, I've had to kind of just tell the inner child, no, like you're not going to get this. And present me is tired of waiting for this to kind of happen when I know it's just going to lead to disappointment. So, inner child, you're going to have to chill out a little bit. So, that's a boundary that I set for family. For friends, I think like just being open with friends. It's important that you're able to communicate with your friends about boundaries and that they're able to receive it as well too. And that's just important with any relationship that you encounter, platonic, romantic, and family relationships too.
Yes, I love that you said like talk about healing your inner child but not doing like in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really thought of that. Like my inner child needs to be healed so badly, but
That's
like
real.
I haven't gotten to that point in my life where I even want to like attack that yet, but
Mm-hmm.
soon. Um but yeah, I actually love that. Like I don't know, a lot of us do need to heal our inner child, and a lot of the things we say out of like spite or whatever comes from that because we haven't healed from our past traumas and difficulties and challenges. So, and I can say that firsthand because I've said a lot of things that just came from when I was young that I wanted to say when I was young, but I didn't have like the strength or courage to do that
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't have like that emotional support that I needed by my side with my family. So, but for me, how do I set boundaries? Well, with my friendships, I don't really know. I don't really like have like a process or anything. It's more of just like kind of like a going through the motions on both ends with my family and friends. Just like if they cross a line, I'll tell them. But I don't really like go. I don't really like go like, hey, this is my boundary. You can't pass it. It's more of like the experience. So like when it happens, then I'll tell them
Mm-hmm.
because like in the present moment it's not going to affect me because they didn't know that that was a boundary I had. So it's just easier for me for it to happen and then say that was a boundary rather than like say it prior, because 9 times out of 10 I feel like people are going to forget, but then when it happens in the present moment I feel like I don't know, it just like reciprocates with them like easier and better. So I don't know, that's just how I do them, how I set my boundaries. And then I have small friend groups. So I have one in um at back at college, have my small black friend group, and then in Missouri I have like my um like Hispanic and white friend group mixed together, which is ironic because Lincoln, Nebraska is kind of the same as Raymore, but we have like our black student union, and so I, made friends with a bunch of them. So yeah, and then how do I know when I have like a new friend? That's actually a good question. I don't know why I wrote that down. I just think it's kind of interesting to talk about because you see a lot of people that just like automatically become friends, but it's like what kind of guided you towards them? Like what about them made you want them to be your friend? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I get a lot of my for playing soccer. For me, I get a lot of my friendships from soccer, and so we have to. It's not like we have to be friends, but we have to be like cordial with one another, and just playing soccer. Like all your teammates eventually just become your friends. So it's kind of just like it just clicks, just because you all play the same sport that you love.
Yeah, I get that. I see like how you mean. And I totally like skipped over the questions. Let me go back. For friend groups, my friend groups, they're small. Like I can't like count per se, but I do have small friend groups, but they've all been very instrumental um within one another as far as the development that has gone through each individual person within the friend group from 1 to 2 years ago to now. And I'm very grateful for the friends that I do have, because they've really helped me a lot. It's just very quality like now. And I think that's what I've like just been craving the most for my friendships as I've gotten older. How can I deepen the relationships that I do have now? And they've all been really, really good. And then for new friends, that was very interesting. That's a good question tonight because for this year, I gained some new friends like this past like academic year, and it's been very interesting because like I feel like in a lot of ways I can like be introverted, so like I wouldn't like go out, I guess, to like go and make new friends. But like if there's like an event like going on campus and I'm like surrounded like or around people and like have the opportunity to kind of like chat, I guess, one on one, then it's like, okay, like this person seems cool, so like we'll become friends. And with one new friend that I made this past academic year, we bonded a lot about just like our upbringing and fashion and K-pop. And so now I'm kind of learning to, I guess, just embrace making new friends and learning that like sometimes somebody needs somebody like you in their life. Everything I believe is very intentional in this life, and friends are angels. So yeah, I'm gonna like try to learn or set out a goal. I was telling myself yesterday, just talking to myself, I'm gonna try to make maybe some new friends this academic year. I have to get out of my like very introverted ways. So yeah, I'm gonna just try to make new friends this year. So we'll
Hmm.
see. We'll see.
Yeah, we have incoming freshmen coming into the Black Student Union, so hopefully we can connect with them and show them like how college life is. Hopefully, get them to stay because Wesleyan does not have a lot of minorities, but there's 28% of incoming freshmen coming to Wesleyan that are students of color, which is really nice, and we have 20% of students of color on campus. So very low percentage, but I'm loving the statistics, so we can just show them, it's growing slowly but surely.
Yes, absolutely. It's just yeah, it's nice to like just to know, put a name to a face and put a personality or I guess a person to the new friend that you're meeting as well too. So challenge for you guys, you GAWSY listeners, this new semester, this new month, this new year. Challenge yourself to make a new friend. Introduce yourself. I'm gonna tell myself that too. Introduce yourself to somebody new. At a student event, at a student organization. Yeah, just challenge yourself to make a new friend this year.
Right, even at work, you know walking at the park, anywhere, make
Anyway,
that one of your goals. All right, Gauzy readers, thank you for tuning in with us on episode 2. You can follow us on our social media platforms, Instagram. We have TikTok and Twitter at Gauzy Magazine. And stay tuned for the next episode.
thank you everyone. Bye, you guys.
Bye. Have a good one.